Hello again, YouTube. This is Wuam for the state of professional wrestling, part 2. Um, I said on the video that I made before, which was just a video to sort of prepare um, fans and whoever is interested in watching this about the professional wrestling that I experienced in my younger days and teenage days, and then into my 20s and 30s and stuff like that. I've talked a lot about that. Um, but this is just I'm just coming off of my first video, and I'm going to start on my second now. And I did mention that I was going to show some of my memorabilia, and I'm not going to show much. I don't. Well, I've got a lot of tickets and stuff from the Greensboro Coliseum from the 80s and stuff like that. That it's just kind of tedious to me. So I'm just going to kind of show some of my favorite things, and I don't know, a few things. Anyway, I'm not a real pro when it comes to making videos like this. So I'm just going to grab the camera, and I got a few things set up that I want to show y'all. This would be, of course, my prized possession, and I hope the camera can pick it up. I got it down on the floor, and there's a lot of shadows and stuff. And anyway, this is a wrestling magazine from April of 1981, and it features Ric Flair and the late great Roddy Piper. And I had this signed by, of course, my favorite wrestler, the Nature Boy Ric Flair, in 2009. I don't know if you can pick up his signature, but there it is, and that's really a jewel of my collection, and I'm very lucky to have that. And this here is that's the picture, and I've got it hung up in my office here. That's me and Nature Boy, or Nature Boy and me, put it that way. And I usually don't smile for many pictures, but that picture, I could not keep the smile off my face. And we're doing the Four Horsemen sign, which is a tremendous honor. So I'll go to my little wall here in my office, and I've got some wrestling magazines here. I will show y'all the very first wrestling magazine I ever bought in March of 1981, and it was pretty big back then. It was Tommy Rich, who was one of the biggest baby faces ever, turned heel. And you can see, I guess if the light's not reflecting too bad, the fans can go to hell. And that was huge at the time. It turned the wrestling world on its ear, and there's a few of my older things, wrestling magazines, mostly dealing with Flair. And this is not a tribute to Flair, I promise you that. It's my opinions on things, and I'm just going to put my camera back to where I can get back to the quote show, or whatever y'all want to call this. No, I'm really having trouble with my camera. Let's hope that don't fall. Just some backstory. I started watching professional wrestling in 1981, like I said on my first video, but I started off watching it as a lark, thinking that it was just, dumb, fake, and Ric Flair was just some dude with long hair that looked like a girl and all this stuff. But I do remember one particular afternoon. I don't know, it's been many years ago, so I cannot remember a lot of details. But I remember finally getting into it, and I think it was actually a Flair interview that I saw that looked so genuine to me, and was just it just drew me in. And I was like, wait a minute, there's more to this. And I'd watch a little more, and then me and my brother would watch, and me and my dad would watch, and we started getting interested in this stuff. And so every Saturday at 12 o'clock on Channel 12, we or us or whoever it was, I can't remember the details, would watch Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling. And if Flair happened to be on the show, of course that was, you know, a high point for me. But at that point, we decided that we would go see our first show live at the Greensboro Coliseum, and we did. And it totally just blew me away. I was just, it was awesome. I can't even, I can't even tell you if I remember the first show we ever saw at the Greensboro Coliseum, but I knew I was completely hooked. And excuse me for smoking. So it just kind of grew from there, and I don't want to dwell on a lot of things too much, but it grew from there, and the territory, the Mid-Atlantic Territory, included Ricky Steamboat and Wahoo McDaniel, and Jack and Jerry Briscoe were in and out, and Jimmy Valiant in and out, Dusty Rhodes, who of course was a producer, and all of this was just, I fell in love with it, and it just kept getting better. And they started bringing in tag teams like the Rock and Roll Express, and then the Midnight Express with Jim Cornette, which the Rock and Roll, of course, were big time baby faces, and the Midnights were big time heels. And when they got together, it was just magic. And then I can remember when Magnum TA first came into the territory, and any wrestling fan in the South probably knows what happened to Magnum TA. But at first, I didn't like Magnum TA too much, but I learned to respect him a lot, and really started cheering for him. And of course, he was crippled in a car accident in 1986, which was just, he was being groomed to be world champion, and of course it never happened. And at that time, my dad would have to take us because I didn't have my driver's license yet. But in 1984, I got my driver's license, and I was free to go to the Greensboro Coliseum and watch Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling, the NWA, and 99.5% of the time, Ric Flair was the main event. He would defend his belt against whoever, and I saw Flair and Steamboat go at it. I saw the Horsemen. I saw Magnum wrestle. Saw a lot during those days, and in those days, Crockett presented his product as a real sport, and it was done very classy, the way they did it. And the boys, the guys, the wrestlers, they were just unparalleled. And that's why I said in the first video of to me, the glory days of professional wrestling, with the Four Horsemen and Magnum TA and the Rock and Roll Express and Jim Cornette and the Midnight Express, and it's almost more that I can. It overwhelms me sometimes, because we did see so much, and some of the stuff we didn't even realize that was going to be immortalized as the best wrestling in the world, sort of like Flair and Steamboat. And I know I keep going back to Flair, and I'm trying not to. Um, I'm trying to stay strictly on wrestling here, and also not knowing what we were seeing when we would see the Rock and Roll Express go out and fight the Midnight Express, or wrestle Arn Anderson and Tully Blanchard, and how great that, you know, Ricky Morton could sell, and how good he was. And then he would be hurt, and the teenage girls would be crying, and he would get that hot tag to Robert Gibson, and the whole place went ape shit. And I don't plan on using much profanity on these videos, but yeah, they went ape shit. And it was really fun to watch that, and it was a really, really magic time for professional wrestling. I can't say enough about it. and it was a very, very long time ago, so I cannot remember every detail. But I do know that me and my brother and my dad and my sister and my cousin and people like that would go along to these shows, we were really witnessing professional wrestling history in that. It was so good, and the territory was protected so well because there was no. It's called kayfabe. You did not break kayfabe, which breaking kayfabe meant that you would tell the truth. You couldn't. It was always, you know, a bad guy is going to be a bad guy, heel. A bad guy is a heel, and a good guy is a babyface. And you didn't break kayfabe in those days, because it would have ruined the territory, because so many people believed in it, including myself. And it was just a wonderful time for professional wrestling, and it kind of went on and on and on and on and on, and I really loved Jim Crockett Promotions, but Jim Crockett got a little, in my opinion, and like I said before in my first video, these are going to be my opinions, and I'm not going to preface that. I'm not going to preface everything I say with this is my opinion, but let me just say the things that I say are just my opinion. The NWA and Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling, Jim Crockett Promotions, got really, really hot, of course, and Jim Crockett decided, against his family's wishes, against a lot of the wrestlers' wishes, that he was going to start. First, he was going to purchase a home base outside of Charlotte, if that's correct. I believe it was outside of Charlotte, but it was way beyond his means, and he started buying airplanes and limos because he was going to conquer the world with his wrestling. Well, it didn't work out that way. Now, this is a very hard statement to make, but when we look down, this is the year 2017, and if in my opinion, again, if I look back at what really ruined professional wrestling forever, it's Jim Crockett's fault. Now, Jim Crockett didn't do this on purpose to hurt the sport. He got very big-headed, and he decided he was going to do what I told you that he did, as far as buying this and just overspending. And in my mind, in my opinion, with all due respect, Mr. Crockett, Jim Crockett ruined professional wrestling. And I'm going to end this video right here. I know I've been all over the place, but I'll start off on video 3 with why I think Jim Crockett ruined professional wrestling forever. So anyway, this is Womcat. God bless you all. Have a good day, and I'll see you later.